Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the next installment of my little mini-series on how I successfully self-published my first ever book, and quite possibly my last ever book, Gophers on the Front Lines of Film and Television. There's been a few videos before this, all about the design stages, the writing stages, inspiration, all that fun stuff, but today we're going to talk about listing your book for sale, that's a big step, isn't it? This video could be huge. I could make flashy editing and all sorts of fun cuts. I thought about doing that, I really did, and going into in-depth on each of the points that I'm about to explain or share with you, but I decided that's not the way I want to go. I know that I spent hours and hours and hours watching other YouTube videos, reading other blog entries, listening to other podcasts, and I have a feeling that if you're self-publishing, you're probably going to do the same thing. So what I'm going to do in this video is try to very concisely list out some considerations for you to have in the back of your head and things that I found out to be important when I was publishing my industry standard trade paperback 6x9-inch trim size nonfiction book. That being said, let's get into things, and you're going to see me referring to notes here because, again, I'm just trying to give you some key points to have in your back pocket, things that are really going to help you get your book listed in all the right places. There's two schools of thought as to how to proceed once you have your interior file done and your exterior cover file done. So you've got a completed cover and you've got a completed interior. I would say that you want to check with the printing or publishing service you go through to make sure that those files are in compliance with their printing sizes. Many places, as an example, Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing or KDP or Ingram Spark, they'll have separate listings to say, when you give us your interior file, make sure the bleed, which is the amount on the edge of the pages, meets these measurement requirements. Make sure your page count meets this requirement. You might have to do some slight tweaking to your file. If you watched my previous videos, you know I use Microsoft Word, and it's usually very easy to do. Before I finalized everything, the interior and the cover, I selected my printing and publishing service. But this is something you could do after you've done some basic design and you just have to tweak things. Anyway, if you go with a printing service, printing services will just print your book and ship you the copies for you to sell yourself, which are great to keep costs low because you're just purchasing the printing of your book and the shipping to you. You don't have to pay for any kind of publishing fees. The reason you might want to do this is if you already have a great place to sell your book and you don't need it listed in the Library of Congress catalog. You don't need all the ISBNs and barcodes. You just want to get your book printed. Reason being, a good example would be a friend of mine who printed a book about how-to buying guide for cars, and he works at the automotive company that he wrote this book about. So he actually sells the book through the website of the automotive company, which already has a massive reach, and ships the book out through the company's very large shipping department. He's able to keep costs tremendously low and has no problem shipping hundreds of copies of this book because that's what their company does. If you're in that case, you might want to go print your own books and sell them yourself without any kind of presence on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. But if you want a wider reach like I did, you're probably going to end up going with a publishing service. How do you select a good one? Again, there's many factors, but Self-Publishing with Dale is one YouTube channel I discovered on my journey that he does a fantastic job of comparing all the different services. So I'll link his videos. You'll see again in video links and description links. But here's some considerations. Here's some things you want to keep in your head. Do you need paperback only, or do you also need hardcover? And do you need an extended trim size? Because not all publishing houses offer those options. Some you can't do hardcover through, they only do paperback. Some you won't be able to get, say, a large children's coloring book size. Some may not be able to support that size. So you may need to go with a specific publishing house or printing service to get your book properly printed. Do you need to enable pre-orders? Do you need an audiobook version of your book available? Some publishing services will only be able to publish the paperback, the hardcover, the ebook version. They won't also have features to enable publishing of an audiobook version, and not all of them will allow pre-orders. Those weren't things that mattered much to me. Like I said, I have a very industry standard 6x9 book here, so the world was my oyster. Anybody was able to do that standard size. Obviously, royalty rate and printing cost, those are big factors. How much will they charge this service to get your book printed? And then what would be your profit if you were to sell that book for whatever price you choose? I was able to keep my cost rather low, and most copies of this book print between just under $4, upwards of $5. So I kept my cost of the book to $15.99, under $20. I think that's a readily available price for college students, which is the target audience of this book. And there's 16 chapters in there, so I figured, why not $1 per chapter? I think that's a fair cost. Your royalty rate is also something to consider. Some services will offer you royalty rates that are low, some are high. Through Amazon, I get 70% royalty rate, and then through Ingram, I think I get slightly less in certain markets. Those were the two services that I went with, Amazon and Ingram Spark. But we'll get there in one second. A few other things to consider. Do you need online presence for your book? Like we said earlier, some publishing houses will actually offer you a place on their website. So take, for example, I think DigiPod is one place that does this. I could be wrong, but basically a publishing house that has a storefront where you can buy books that have been published or printed through their service. You can actually have a page on their website. So if you don't have an author website, or if you don't have a Facebook page that you can sell your book through, you can actually get a website that you could direct potential customers to, and they could buy the book through there. I didn't need that because I did have many social media profiles, and I have my own website where I have my author page set up. So that was a necessity for me. And then your network reach. Do you need a publishing service that can reach all the major stores? Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target. Do you want that? Do you need that? If you do, you might pay a little bit of a premium going with a service like Ingram Spark. If you don't, you could probably save some money and go with one of the smaller services. And again, list in the description. But again, for me, standard 6x9 paperback. I wanted maximum control over the listing pages on Amazon and elsewhere, and I wanted it as widely accessible as possible to get this in the hands of as many people as possible. So the choice that I made was something I found out you can do. You can actually list your book through Amazon and through Ingram Spark. Normally, people choose one or the other, or I think frequently people choose one or the other, because if you list with Amazon or Ingram Spark, both of them have global distribution options where you can upload your cover file and your interior file, and they will make it available to all the stores. Amazon can make it available to Barnes & Noble and all those other places, and Ingram Spark can do the same. But I knew that Amazon was going to be a key place that people would be purchasing my book, so what I did was I just went through Amazon KDP to make my book available at Amazon.com only. You'll have a selection when you're signing up for the book to enable global distribution or expanded distribution, and you just don't check that. Just say, if you want to do what I did, go with Amazon for Amazon, and then Ingram Spark, you could do the same exact thing, but this time check expanded distribution, and Ingram Spark actually presents to you a series of addendums that you'll have to sign. There's addendums for individual stores, so there's an Ingram Spark agreement that you sign, and then there's also an addendum for Apple, the Apple Store, Apple iBooks for your ebook. There's another addendum for Amazon. You just wouldn't sign the Amazon one, but sign all the others. So now Ingram Spark will make your files available to places like Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, the Rakuten Kobo store. That's how I got my book in all those places. And Amazon just does Amazon. I found that this was the best of both worlds. I was able to have maximum control over the Amazon page and maximum control over price promotions at Amazon. And Ingram handles everything else for me. And then anything that Ingram doesn't get your book in. So, for example, those addendums that you sign, there's one for Google Play Books. Just because they offer it to Google Play Books doesn't mean your book will actually be listed there. So if you find that you've gone through Ingram and a month or two has passed and your book isn't available in all the places that you wanted it to be, then you can follow up with those individual places and get your book available there. I actually went to Google Play Books after I had published and signed agreements with them and individually listed my book on Google Play Books. So you have lots of options and lots of control this way. I hope that this kind of puts things in perspective for you. If you're going the self-publishing path, it's an exciting path. I have a few other videos in this series, and I would love to answer any individual questions. If you have specific questions, feel free to comment below. But otherwise, check the description of this video because there's literally years worth of me doing my searching that I'd like to share with you. So I hope this finds you well, and good luck on your self-publishing journey.